Chapter 3. The Wall. Marley's apartment was small and forgettable. One bedroom, kitchenette, bathroom with a shower that only ran hot for 5 minutes. The kind of place you rented by the month when you worked for poverty wages and didn't need more than a place to sleep. But one wall told a different story. She stood in the doorway, looking at it the way she had every day for the past 3.5 years. The wall where her living room should have been. Where other people put televisions and bookshelves and family photos. Marley had built something else. Missing women. Dozens of them. Newspaper clippings taped edge to edge. Handwritten notes pinned with thumbtacks. Photographs. Some from families, some from police reports she'd sweet-talked clerks into copying, some from missing persons bulletins tacked up at truck stops and rest areas. A map of Texas and the surrounding states took up the center, pins marking disappearances along I-10 and I-20. Red thread connected some of the pins where she'd found patterns. Same corridor, same month, same type of victim. Her mother's face was there too. Not special. Not centered. Just one more woman among the missing. Marley dropped her keys on the counter and walked closer. Angela Mendez. Last seen Abilene, October 1974. Jennifer Cole. Disappeared El Paso, March 1975. Sharon Hayes. Missing since June 1976, Van Horn. Diane Foster. Vanished outside Odessa, January 1975. Carla Jensen. Last seen at a rest stop near Pecos, August 1974. Teresa Valdez. Disappeared Midland, November 1976. The names went on. Lot lizards mostly. Hitchhikers. Runaways. Women whose disappearances made one-paragraph mentions in local papers before vanishing from public concern entirely. Women who worked the truck stops and highway rest areas, who climbed into cabs with strangers because that was the job, who disappeared and left behind nothing but worried friends and families the police wouldn't listen to. Marley had been collecting them since her mother vanished. It started 2 weeks after Rebecca vanished, when the cops' words, "Lot lizards take off all the time," stopped sounding like reassurance and started sounding like dismissal. Marley had gone to the public library and started reading back issues of newspapers on microfilm, looking for other women. Other disappearances. Other families like hers. She found them. Dozens. Hundreds if you went back far enough. The corridors were hunting grounds. Everyone who worked the roads knew it. Lot lizards warned each other, swapped information about which truckers to avoid, which rest stops had bad reputations. But the information was word of mouth, scattered, lost as soon as the women moved on or disappeared themselves. Marley had tried to make it permanent. She connected with families through truck stop bulletin boards and phone calls to police departments in small towns where women had last been seen. Most of the families were like her. Working class, broke, screaming into a void that didn't care. Some had given up. Others were still searching. Marley looked at the map. The pins clustered along the interstate corridors like blood drops. I-10 from El Paso to Mobile. 20 from Fort Worth through Louisiana. Smaller highways branching off like capillaries. Predators hunted where prey was plentiful and law enforcement was thin. The highways gave them mobility, anonymity, and an endless supply of women nobody cared about. She turned away from the wall and looked at the bookshelf beside it. Psychology texts. Criminal profiling guides. Behavioral analysis. Books she'd checked out from the library and never returned, marked up with notes in the margins. The Mask of Sanity by Hervey Cleckley sat spine out, the section on psychopathy dog-eared and underlined. Beside it, a field manual on interrogation techniques she'd found at an army surplus store. A worn paperback on sexual predators and victim selection patterns. She'd spent 3 years teaching herself how predators thought, how they selected victims, how they operated. Not just reading. Studying. Memorizing. Testing herself on the patterns until she could spot them in newspaper reports, in missing persons bulletins, in the careful warnings lot lizards passed to each other. And she'd taken self-defense classes at a community center, learning joint locks and pressure points from an ex-Marine who didn't ask why a truck shuttle driver needed to know how to hurt people. She practiced on her mattress at night, drilling the movements until they were automatic. Strike zones. Vulnerable points. How much pressure it took to collapse a windpipe. She'd been preparing for something. She just hadn't known what. Until now. Marley walked to the window and looked out at the highway. Even from the second floor of the apartment complex, she could see it. I-10 stretching east and west, headlights streaming past in both directions. Liz mostly, at this hour, hauling produce and auto parts, and whatever else America needed moved in the dark. Anonymous. Endless. Somewhere out there, right now, a woman was climbing into a cab. Maybe she needed the money. Maybe she needed a ride. Maybe she was just trying to survive another night on the margins where survival was never guaranteed. And maybe she wouldn't climb back out. Marley watched the lights for a long moment. Heard the distant engine noise. Felt the weight of all those names on the wall behind her, all those faces no one was looking for. Someone had to. She turned away from the window and walked to the wall. Pulled Rebecca's photo down. It was old, taken maybe 5 years ago, before the lines around her eyes had deepened, before whatever happened in Arkansas. Rebecca was smiling in the photo. Not happy. Just smiling. The way you do for cameras when someone tells you to. Held somewhere. Alive. Waiting. And no one came. Because lot lizards weren't priority. Because women like Rebecca disappeared all the time and the world kept turning. Something cracked in Marley's chest. Not grief. That had already settled into something harder. This was different. This was the moment the rage found a shape. Found a purpose. If the system wouldn't act, someone else had to. The plan formed slowly, like something developing in a dark room. You couldn't catch predators by going to the cops. She'd tried that. The cops didn't care. You couldn't investigate like the FBI. She didn't have resources or jurisdiction or backup. You couldn't work the problem like a civilian investigator because predators didn't leave trails that civilians could follow. But there was another way. The lot lizards knew. They had to know. Survival demanded it. The women who worked the truck stops, who climbed into cabs and took the risk every night. They knew which drivers were safe and which ones weren't. They warned each other. Shared information. Kept mental lists of men to avoid. If Marley could access that information, if she could ask the right questions and listen to the answers, she could find the predators the cops wouldn't look for. But she couldn't ask as Marley. The yard dog was invisible at truck stops, but invisible in the wrong way. She was a worker. A driver. Someone who moved trucks and didn't talk to lot lizards because yard dogs and lot lizards lived in different worlds, even if those worlds sometimes overlapped at the same fuel islands. She needed to be someone else. Marley walked to her bedroom closet and opened it. In the back, behind her work clothes and the 2 dresses she never wore, was a cardboard box. She pulled it out and opened it on the bed. Wigs. 3 of them, bought from a costume shop in Dallas when she'd first started thinking about this. Dark brown. Auburn? Black. Different lengths, different styles. She'd practiced with them in the mirror, learning how to pin them so they looked natural, how to change the shape of her face with makeup she'd never worn before. Beside the wigs, clothes. Tight jeans. Tank tops. A leather jacket worn soft. The uniform of truck stop working girls. She'd bought them at Goodwill piece by piece, trying them on at home where no one could see. Different woman. Different life. Different access. She picked up the dark brown wig and held it. Shoulder length. Straight. Nothing like her own blonde ponytail. Tomorrow, she'd go to a truck stop. Not Buckeye. Somewhere different. Somewhere far from her usual roots. She'd put on the wig and the clothes and the attitude, and she'd talk to the lot lizards. She'd ask about her mother. Did anyone know Cherokee? Did anyone know what happened? And then, when the conversation turned to survival the way it always did, she'd ask the real question. Who do you avoid? Who are the ones that scare you? The lot lizards would tell her. They always told each other. That's how they survived. And then Marley would find him. Not where she asked. Somewhere different. Somewhere he wouldn't connect the questions to the woman watching. Location discipline. That's what the books called it. She'd find him, and she'd watch him, and she'd confirm what the lot lizards said. And then, She didn't let herself finish the thought. Not yet. One step at a time. Marley put the wig back in the box and closed it. She looked at the wall one more time. All those faces. All those women. Her mother was buried now. That part was done. But the rest wasn't. The rest was just beginning. She turned off the light and lay down on the bed without undressing. Sleep didn't come easy. Her mind was already working through tomorrow. Which truck stop, which persona, which questions. The rage was still there, coiled in her chest. But now it had a direction. Now it had teeth.